when you're making a film, the storyline, because the target audience is very important. We should know that when films are made, they can either be made for the general public or a particular group of people. So the most important thing is to get your story right. And when it comes to conservation films, there's the aspect that you should know that we have those scientific research films that deal with conservation. In most cases, it is actually advisable that you get the facts right or let the interviewee tell the story rather than getting contradicting statement in the narration. So usually the most technical part in making a film after coming up with the idea and scripting is actually going and getting or rather capturing the footage. Like you'd been told before, we use very simple cameras, the ones that you can see we're using over here. We have the 360 cameras and the normal handicam cameras. Maybe as you had earlier, that those big production houses that go to the field with very big, expensive equipment. It also depends. I may have that expensive equipment, but in the final thing is that what comes out of your production. There are instances where I can decide to use this camera in the field. There's a BBC fellow or someone with a very big expensive camera with very good resolutions. And what I produce from this camera is actually of a higher quality from the other expensive equipment. So it's not a matter of equipment at times. It also involves creativity. How creative are you, by the way? Because in terms, once you've been taken through the training of how to make a film, there's the issues of how when you're going to the field, what time you need to shoot, lighting, maybe getting, you also have to use headphones for getting good sound quality and very good microphones. So in the long run, your creativity actually matters a lot in terms of production. In CBCF, we use these computers, or rather Apple Macintosh. They're much advanced compared to the normal PCs that we use in terms of production and the software that you use. They use a software known as Final Cut Pro, which I believe most production houses use around the world. The reason why I think we chose to use Final Cut is because it's very stable and the machines that we use don't actually hang like when you're doing a project. In most cases, when you use PCs, or rather cloned machines, mostly in Kenya, we use pirated softwares, which can really let you down in the middle of production. With the Final Cut, another advantage it has is that you can't actually pirate it by the way. I think it's almost close to impossible. And then these machines do not get viruses at all. They cannot be affected by the virus in the Windows-based operating system. So ideally, that makes your work very easy and consistent. You won't be having a problem of your work hanging, unless maybe it's just a technical hitch which I think can be resolved very easily. Maybe to that point, any question?
But which is the best way to start? Do you start with the story, or do you start to shoot fast?
I think the best way is, ideally, normally in any film making is, like she said, in conservation films, the first question should be, what is there a need to make the film? Like I'm assuming if, I'll take an example of this area. There is this Loboi swamp over here. The communities here actually depend on it for their livelihoods, in terms of maybe water for home use or irrigation. So if that water is being overused in the swamp, eventually it will dry up if you do not use it well. So there has to be the aspect of you actually developing a script first. You know what exactly is involved in that particular film that you want to make. Because if I write my script first, I will know that if I go to the field, I know I should look for this particular footage, I should capture this, I should interview, so and so. Because if you go to the field without the script first, okay, it will work, but it may actually, you may find that lots of the clips that you took won't actually be of use to you, by the way. But something very important when editing is that after you have taken your footage and captured actually your footage, you transfer it to the computer, or rather whatever software that you'll be using. We have something called a file that is attached to the camera and attached to the computer too. That is for easy transfer to our software that we use for editing. Once your footage is actually captured on the software, there is a way you deal, actually you will cut away. You need to cut the clip and remain with whatever footage you want to tell your story in a sequence. And the story usually has three main parts, or rather a film. There's the introduction, which is very important, and then we have the body that tells the story. The introduction just introduces the film, and then we have the body that now actually focuses on the actual facts or whatever you want your target audience to get. And then of course we have the outro that you put the credits, you give special thanks, and if there's any sponsors that sponsor the film in any way. So when we're exporting our film, we export in a format called QuickTime Movie or MOV. After exporting the film, there is now the process of getting it into different formats, because you have to use a standard format so that many or rather other people are able to view your films very easily. In terms of format, the different video formats, but I want to stick to what is universally used by the to normal residents or normal people, or rather those people that you make your target audience for the film, of which in this case, one of us said, we are used to hearing of DVDs or tapes, and since technology is so much advanced, in most cases these days we use DVDs. So that means that your final product should actually be in a normal DVD format. Post-production, this involves the color correction, which is just actually enhancing color of the clip to make it look much better. Like you have noticed, I believe most of us here, in fact all of us have watched films. If you watch the normal news on TV, when they show clips of maybe something happening, and then you watch a film produced maybe in the Western countries, you will notice that there's some color difference. Now that is actually the art of post-production, when you correct a few colors and come up with a color that's actually appealing to the eye. And then she said something about DVD printing. If you have noticed, there's these DVDs or CDs that we buy for our own use. Some of them are written Sony, some of them mention verbatim. But when she talks about CD printing, if you notice on some CD surfaces or DVD surfaces, there is some pictures or writings that are printed on the surface. There are those that use paper, which is not advisable. There are CDs, special CDs that are printed, that have the image actually printed on CD. So that now comes to post-production and also distribution. So after getting it on CD and you're filling into the DVD, that is when you can now distribute it to the audience.
I'm just thinking to myself, if I want to have a full filming unit.
Filming unit?
Yeah. What are the most basic equipment that I will need to make a full filming unit for me to be able to do the work?
Like in CBCF, we use basic equipment. It's not like a big-time production house. So for a basic filming unit, or rather maybe for your home editing, the first thing maybe you need to have is a camera, depending on the specifications of the camera, a tripod. Whatever she's using that the camera is actually mounted on is a tripod. It just helps in stability when you're shooting, by the way. And then you will need a very good computer. For us, we use the Apple Macintosh computers. And then that is the hardware part now. Then we have something called the software. The software is what is installed in the computer that you will use for editing, by the way. In this case, as we're using Final Cut Pro. The other Windows-based software like Adobe, there is Avid, there is Pinnacle, those are for Windows based. So in my own opinion, and very good, you need to have headphones too for monitoring sound when you go to capture footage. And then a microphone, a very good microphone to pick sound whatever you're capturing footage. So that's a very simple setup for editing.
You can do this much simpler as well. You'll probably see on every single computer that if anyone owns a computer, look on the computer. If it's a PC, you'll see a program on there called Windows Movie Maker. If you happen to own an Apple, you'll see iMovie. A lot of the films that we made before this project were just made on those simple free editing software you can find on any computer. The computer has to be powerful enough to deal with video, but if it has that program on there, then in theory it is powerful enough to at least do something.